Hi there YouTube, this is the Magnus bringing you another Total War Warhammer online ladder battle. This time my opponent chose to play as the dwarfs and I decided to bring the beastmen. Kind of an unusual choice, but I had an idea, decided to run with it. So let's take a look at the build. It includes 6 Best of Gore Herd. I have 1 Gore Herd with shield in the center, hoping to draw some fire. Out on the flanks on each side I have 2 Razor Gore Herd. They got a little bit of a buff in the last patch, so I wanted to give them a go. And then behind my line I have 1 unit of Minotaurs and Morgar the Shadow Glaive, or Shadow Gave, my bad. And I decided to bring the Best of Gore because they're armor piercing, and I brought the Minotaur for the same reason, and so are the Razor Gore Herd. So I just have armor piercing all across the line, with the exception of the Gore Herd with shields, and I believe Morgor does not have it either. Nope, just poison attack. And since nobody brings the Beastmen really against the dwarfs, I figured it was a matchup my opponent would accept. You know, he wouldn't switch out because I brought a hard counter. Let's take a look at his build. He brought 3 cannons deployed right up front so as to not block their firing. Miners with blasting charges, 3 of those behind. Behind them he has 3 Thunderers, then 3 Quarrelers. In the far rear he has 2 Dwarf Warriors for covering his butt. 2 Dwarf Warriors on this flank, 2 Dwarf Warriors on this flank, total of 6, and 1 unit of Longbeards to go with Ungrim Iron Fist. No Runesmith, which was a bit unusual, but a very powerful build with lots of layers of pain for me to go through. So let's see how this this funky new build of mine plays out here. So the goal is just, get my front line in here as quickly as possible, because as you can see, immediately we're going to be taking cannon fire, and once we get into range, we'll be taking fire from all of his firing units. So I'm going to bring the Razor Gore up on each flank, and then kind of position them in 4 spots around his infantry line to get as much surround as possible. And I need to get there quick and do it in a way that he can't get to them. So you'll notice initially I'm going to park the ones on this side behind this hill, so he doesn't have a line of sight for his cannons or for his thunderers and whatnot. And I'm going to opt for the same thing on this side. Going to block out line of sight best I can to avoid taking damage while I'm waiting for my infantry to get there. And again, this is going to be all about timing, trying to get these guys into the missiles, the Razor Gores, and still do so in enough time that it's going to buy time for my main line not to get completely dumped on by all of the ranged power he has. So as you can see, he's been targeting my Minotaurs and Morgor with his cannons, and they've done pretty well against the Minotaurs, but they've crossed the field even though there's 3 cannons firing at them, so that's pretty impressive. And Morgor, he's tough as nails, so you can shoot anything you want at him. The missiles are going to come raining down here. They're primarily going to affect the Gore Herd with shields. I'm fine with that. That's what they're there to do. I push in with my Minotaur and try to get working on the cannon right away. He's going to push his infantry forward. Then you're going to see out on the flanks, I'm going to try to swing around some of my infantry, but more importantly, I'm going to bring in the Razor Gore Herd. So one gets into Quarrelers here, another one gets into his Quarrelers there, but for the time being, his Thunderers are unimpeded. I'm going to try to fix that as soon as I can. The blasting charges are going to do considerable damage to my infantry that are trying to work on the cannons, so very intelligent build there. This Thunder is going to get absolutely ran over by the Razor Gores. They've got some pretty serious mass, and as you can tell, that is a pig far bigger than a dwarf, so I imagine they should be pretty effective against my opponent here. They also cause fear, which is not to be put aside. Morgor, I just have him beating on one of the cannons because he's no sort of super combatant. Over here, I'm going to kind of sneakily get this one Best of Gore onto Ungrim, and then I'm going to end up sending another one over for the same purpose. So one of my piggies gets chased away. That's fine. We break one of his Quarrelers. We're into another here. Here I'm getting tied up by Longbeards, but These piggies are going to get their hands on the Thunderer, so that's good. I spawned some Chaos Spawn on top of the Thunderers. That's going to negate their ability to fire. And then as soon as I did some damage over here, I start working my piggies towards the last Thunderer. Just trying to tie down everything that he has that shoots, and count on the fact that all of my armor piercing is going to allow me to chew through his infantry. I summoned another Chaos Spawn in the rear. These guys are going to work on these Quarrelers because I shifted the piggies over here to get into these Dwarf Warriors. Towards these Thunderers, but they got chased off. So for the time being, they're going to be a non-factor, but I'm going to be able to bring these ones back and these ones as well. And really, in a lot of ways, the damage has been done. This one Quarreler back here is all but dead. This Thunderer is all but dead. That one's pretty beat up. This Quarreler's pretty beat up. So I'm going to call it a success so far. The balance bar is going to agree with me. In the infantry lines here, things going well for the most part, losing a couple but winning the vast majority, and we've put considerable damage down on Ungrim, and we're going to continue to chase him as he tries to flee and get himself out of this action. Now he's not routed, but my opponent is choosing to get him out of there. Smart choice. But in comes some more of my piggies. They're going to nail him and get into his Thunderers. That's going to be a problem. Second wave coming through. You see some of his artillery there finally broke. So I've got more Razor Gores coming in. But then I decided to redirect them and send them down on a downhill charge into these miners who are trying to come in relief. They're going to have very little success dealing with the Razor Gores. I just think that's a matchup that doesn't favor them. Here, his infantry's almost dead. Here, Morgor's doing fine, and right now we're getting a nice surround on Ungrim. Going to try to drag him down and kill him. Over here, Thunderer still getting attacked, and taking damage, a pretty serious amount of damage. Ungrim Iron Fist, not much left to him. The unit that is fleeing next to him, I convert into Chaos Spawn and get on him, and that's going to be enough for the dwarfs. They've seen enough. The only exception being Ungrim Iron Fist. He is unbreakable. He fights to the last. I commend his courage, but I think he'd be much better off running for the hills in this situation. As you can see, he's right here. I can't draw that small. But he's right here, and he's getting smashed by all the Beastmen. Everything else is running, and as soon as he dies, we're going to have a win for the Beastmen. So, Beastmen versus Dwarfs, not a bad result. It was just a theory, something I practiced a little bit against the AI, but I think it worked out well. Good game to my opponent. He brought a very solid build, something very similar to what I like to bring, which is, fill out those slots so you can really overwhelm people with the dwarfs, because things like Dwarf Warriors just work so well for the cost. Not a bad build by any stretch of the imagination. I would say the one thing that's bad is the absence of a runesmith. I would definitely get a runesmith in this build. Maybe drop a cannon to do so, and if you have to drop like a minor blasting charge, do that as well. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape. The Bestigor were fantastic. 69 kills, 119 kills, 130, 114. These two did okay. This one not so much, actually. The Goreherd was sacrificial, and boy did they get sacrificed. 0 kills and blown to hell. The Razor Gore did quite good. Nothing ridiculous, but at 650, I think they did really well, especially considering they pretty much took his missiles out of the game and just made their lives a living hell. The Minotaur did not do well, but when you have 3 cannons, that's 2,400 spend to kill your 1,300 gold Minotaur. That's not a bad deal. Morgur put up kills, summoned Chaos Spawn right where they needed to be, and just hung in there like a champ. Let's see how my opponent's army did. The miners with blasting charges did pretty well. The cannons did a great job of attracting me and getting me anchored for these guys to really let loose with their blasting charges. After that, I don't think they were as effective. Dwarf Warriors, not good. Longbeard, not good. His missiles, definitely low on kills. I took advantage of them pretty well. And the cannon, with the exception of wiping out my Minotaur, did not do a whole lot for him. So, like I said, a good build. I would want to get at least a runesmith in there. And, you may want to cut back on the cannon a bit. I feel like it's a bit much, especially considering as soon as I reach your line, you're going to sacrifice them. And against a fast-moving army like the Beastmen, they're going to get on these guys far too quick. But again, a good game. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. If you enjoyed it and you learned something, or a little bit of both, or a little bit of one, please hit like. Please hit subscribe. It is appreciated. And it only takes you a second. Until the next time, this is the Magnus, and I'll see you on the ladder.